So, welcome to everybody. Really good to see you guys on this Monday. I hope everyone had a good weekend and is having a good start of the week. I had a fun weekend. I went whale watching. I lived in California for most of my life, and I've never gone whale watching. And we saw a whale, and it was pretty fantastic. So, but I'm happy to be back to the charts. Last week was a little scattered. We had some random movements and some things. We talked about some trades at the beginning of the week that ended up going pretty nicely. Euro dollar, for example, was one of them, and some others. We had some news announcements last week. Markets bumped around. Things happened. There was just activity and no activity all at the same time. And so it was an interesting week last week. I'm glad we're in a new, fresh week, and we've got some pretty exciting things that I want to talk about today. Remember, if you'd like to get a close look at what we do and how we do it, you can get a free trial right here. It costs you $0.00 to try our services out for the week. And at the end of the week, there's no problem in canceling that, or you can stay on and hopefully make a grip load of pips with us and have fun doing it. One thing that I would like to call myself is a very patient trader. I like to wait for excellent setups and things that I think are very high probability, and I'm pretty excited about those kinds of trades. Now, short-term stuff, there's the occasional short-term trade, and we mostly get that out of news announcements, but the big swingers, the big movers, man, I got dirty things on my mind, are sometimes require a lot of patience, so we really try to go for those bigger movers, but it's excellent. Dave, -8 in Alaska. I would die standing up. I'd probably get frozen to the ground and then just not be able to move, and then it would just be horrible. So that's rough. That's rough. So anyways, guys, we'd love to see you. Stop by for a free trial and have a look at that. Let's see what kind of exciting news announcements we have going on here this week. 80 degrees in Denver. Good grief, Susan. That's pretty hot for the Rocky Mountains. It's somewhere in the 80s here by the beach too. It's hot. It's hot and hot. Global warming, full speed ahead. Except for in Alaska, it's global cooling up there. But you know, it's coming. It's coming. Okay, guys, so we've got a lot of news this week. Last week, twice in one day, for Australian news and New Zealand news, I forgot they were not on daylight savings, and I did not update my Forex factory here. And I was an hour early twice in one day. That was amazing. So we're not going to do that again, because I think I've updated my clock here. But we've got some decent news coming up. We have a little bit of Japanese news. I'm not going to trade that. I'm not going to try to do anything with that except for read about what they discuss and what they talk about and what they do. And that's coming up here in just a little bit, sometime tonight. We also have Australian monetary policy meeting minutes, kind of like their the meeting minutes after the interest rate announcement. That'll be worth reading through and kind of just having a look at. So we'll keep an eye on that for sure. But we're not going to trade any of that too much. Going into tomorrow, we have a couple of interesting news announcements. On Tuesdays, the German zoos, always worth keeping an eye on. Canadian news, U.S. housing starts, and then I think we've got like the milk price index or something in New Zealand. Whatever it is, I always forget. But that can be a bit of a mover, so we'll keep an eye on that. Wednesday is a big day. This is going to really get things going Wednesday. So we've got some Canadian numbers. We have the bank rate vote UK numbers for earnings and the unemployment rate numbers, and then we have the official interest rate vote, which is just the vote for the UK. So that's going to be a big to-do. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. Following that up, we have some Canadian news and a little more UK news. And then after that, which we will have a live session for, is Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. We'll have a live session for paying members, all paying members of the website. We have the FOMC statement and press conference. This is a big deal, and chances are some of the dollar pairs might be a little bit slow until that Wednesday activity. So we're going to be looking at some non-dollar pairs for that. But that's a pretty big deal, so we're going to be ready for some of that. That's going to be definitely a live session for this week. Coming into Thursday, what do you guys think is going to be happening across all the Forex brokers on the planet on Thursday when the Swiss National Bank announces their interest rate and has a press conference? Do you think there's going to be a single trader here in a Swiss franc pair? Probably not. The spread's probably going to be 900 pips, and there's not going to be a single trader trying to do a single thing with any Swiss franc pairs during this little period here. Everybody's going to be scared to death by it until they're not scared by it anymore, and then the Swiss National Bank will drop another bomb on everyone like they did. So anyway, this one's probably going to be not too much of an event. I don't think anybody will be in it. And I do think that there's a possibility. They've been talking quite a bit about lowering rates even more to a full minus 1%. So we're probably going to see some of that. So anyways, big news on Thursday. And then Friday we have a little bit of Canadian news to look at. So we're probably not going to do too much on Friday. But Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday should be pretty exciting days in the market this week. Yeah, oh, I hear you, Carolyn. A little bit of 80-degree weather. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, guys. So the pairs that I'm going to mention are the only ones that I currently find interesting. However, I am so happy to talk about anything that you guys want to bring up. So have your questions ready. Have the currency pairs ready that you want to talk about. Have some setups ready that you want to look at. If you see something that looks like it's got a head and shoulders pattern on it, and you're wondering if it's going to be a good trade, let's talk about it. Let's totally talk about it. But I'm kind of looking mostly at Euro dollar, pound dollar, Aussie dollar, dollar CAD. I'm peeking at EURCAD and dollar Mexican peso with a little hint of New Zealand dollar mixed in there. So I'm looking at some dollar pairs for sure. I think I forgot to mention the Aussie New Zealand. I'm looking at that. I'm pretty much looking at everything from this to about here. So there's a couple pairs in there. Let's just say something quickly about Euro dollar. Euro dollar is probably headed nicely into parity. I think we're all coming to terms with that, and that's probably going to be great. It's hard to trade right now. It's really, really hard to trade the euro dollar because, mostly because it's just at these continually low levels, and it's hard to get into it. You don't want to be the guy buying it at the lowest point that it's been in 10 years. Without a really good setup. And I don't know that there's been any really great setups. Last week we talked about, here was our Monday webinar, and we talked about this little setup right here. And several people in the group got into that, and it was a nice little breakout, and the euro dollar broke out and just ran a quick 335 pips over a couple of day period. And that was one of the levels mentioned from the Monday webinar last time. So hopefully you guys got into that business. But now here we are with kind of this choppy consolidation, double bottoming activity right here. I am at this point a little more interested in, if possible, I would like to buy euro dollars more than sell them at this point. I think the euro is getting close to being ready for some recovery, a little bit of a recovery point. One thing that I'm looking at on this euro dollar is this huge run down in our 23% fib. Our first major fib level is up at about 11300. That's a long ways away, and I'm not counting on it getting up to 11300. But I am looking at what the FOMC statement is going to say on Wednesday, and if they say anything even remotely on the dovish side of anything, then that's going to be a huge excuse for the euro dollar to correct like crazy. And probably over a bit of a short term, but it'll be a nice little wild movement up. And so if we get anything, kind of, we're being careful on Wednesday from the U.S. Federal Reserve, then that'll be our opportunity to really buy euro dollar up a couple hundred pips, and pound dollar and Aussie dollar and all these other pairs. However, if they come out on Wednesday and say it's go time to the fullest degree, then we're just going to see this euro dollar probably continue to drop and hit parity pretty soon. 102, 103 area is going to be a nice little support zone, and that is coming probably very soon. So I'm not in any kind of denial that I think the euro dollar is heading to 1-to-1, but it's going to be tricky to trade it. So short-term things that we can do in the meantime, the euro has gotten a little bit choppy. We took an actual just straight up loss on the euro dollar last week in our trading group. And it was only 30 pips I think we risked on it. And that was like one of the first just straight up losses that we have had in a while. Usually we can hedge a trade and we can get out of it with some nice profit. There's a whole bunch of things we can do, but we just had to get stopped out on the choppiness, and it was ugly. and the euro has been choppy the last couple of days. I'm going to keep an eye on this little level right here, which is just about 105.60 or so. If it breaks through this and starts getting out of this short-term channel, I'm going to be looking for very, very short-term trades on euro dollar for the moment. And so something like this, you know, below 105.60 could be a nice little 20 or 30 pip move. Something really, really, really just soft and small that we... Excuse me, gotta stay hydrated. I'm gonna fall over my chair from heat exhaustion here. So something like that could be just a really nice little short-term trade, and I'm gonna keep an eye on that 105 kind of 60 level breaking and giving us an opportunity to trade this down into, you know, back down into 10500 area. Yes, that is true, Tom. Yep, the old patience word. Yeah, they're going to be really looking at that whether they mention anything about being patient or not being patient. That'll be the big to do with the FOMC statement. So absolutely. Good, Dave. Made some money on euro dollar long. That's very good. So again, we're going to look for a little euro dollar short, and then we'll probably look for a little euro dollar long with the coming news. So we're going to keep an eye on that. Here's the pound dollar real quick. Anybody trading the pound dollar? Who's trading the pound dollar? Anyone doing anything with the pound dollar? By a show of hands here, can we see any pound dollar supporters? No, none. Nobody's trading the pound dollar. I think that's kind of okay. Ashley, you're trading the pound dollar. Good. Tom, a little bit. All right, excellent. Linda, not at all. Yeah, the pound dollar is kind of wild and crazy. The pound. I'm just having a hard time accepting the weakness that we see on the pound dollar right now. I just think it's trying to slam some traders out and kind of clear the air and do some of that stuff. So what I'm watching for on this pound dollar is I'm looking to see first off this little range of the last couple of weeks here, which is, you know, 800 pips. It really took a big dive, and so we've got about 800 pips right there. If it starts to make some retracements, if it starts getting above 149.50-ish area, even 149.00, we could be headed very easily into 150. There could be a nice 100 pip trade there as we get out of this channel, as we get above the 23% fib, which is 149.00. 149 to 150 should be a very easy move, and even 149 to 151.25 should be a good little move on pound dollar. So I'm kind of looking for that. I'm looking for that move above 159.00 for 100 plus pips, and I think we're going to get something there. If we get one more push on pound dollar, then I'll just trade the simple breakout of this and look for a bit of a double bottom to happen if we break out of this channel. But ultimately, I just don't believe the pound dollar is as weak as it looks like it is trying to be. And I think that we've got a nice opportunity for some good moves. You can see that our 1 hour and our daily charts are pretty overextended. Numbers are pretty good. Everything looks like it's ready for a move higher. And so I'm looking for that. I'm looking for that move higher. I'm looking for a bit of a bounce after that dip and a run into some of those upper levels, into the low 150s, at least for the moment. So pound dollar is going to be a little bit of a kind of wait and see, but that's ultimately what I will be watching for there. One thing to point out on Australia is I don't expect any Aussie strength really from too much of anything coming out. And so the Aussie dollar probably will continue to weaken a bit, and we'll be looking at those opportunities, but we're starting to work on a pretty nice falling wedge right here. There's a pretty nice big falling wedge, lots of missed pivots, lots of things happening right there. If the US is again a little bit dovish on things, then we could see a big move up. If not, then the Aussie dollar will probably continue to dip and dip and dip a little bit more. And if that is the case, then that is totally good. We've got some great opportunities just with some very simple trend lines that are very well supported, like this and like this. And so I'll be looking for opportunities to trade breaks of trend lines and just ride this Australian dollar right back down again, because I think there's some good opportunities for it there. Australia should be, the Aussie dollar pair should be a good short. The US is pretty bullish still. Australia is pretty bearish still. So I think it's a good opportunity to be short Aussie dollar, definitely in the slightly long term. So I'm going to be looking for moves down on this pair. Down into some of these bigger, further lows here. I don't really know how far down I think the Australian dollar, US dollar pair is going to go, but I think it's got a lot to go. it's, you know, if we look at the real big picture here, we're 3,000 plus pips off the high, and we're about, well, we're just less than, we're about 1,600 pips off the low. And it's, you know, it's just kind of bouncing around there, and I think the Australian dollar is going to continue to head lower. Yes, Dave, yeah, and the Aussie New Zealand is dropping. Absolutely, we're going to talk about that one. So anyways, just some nice little breaks and some nice little moves down below about 76.25, 7,600 ultimately would get me very, very short Aussie dollar and start trading this down. So watch this level right here. We've got some nice trend lines, some nice details in the 76.25.30 area, which would be a good spot to start shorting this pair and just riding it on down into these lows and through those lows. Again, I think we could see a few hundred more pips to come on Australia versus US dollar. I think the currency has got more weakness to come, quite a bit more, so we're going to still be looking for opportunities to short that one. Quickly on dollar CAD here. Dollar CAD, the only thing that I'm really interested in the dollar CAD is this big double top right here. Is the double top going to be able to hold? If so, I don't want to just try to get into a trade because it's kind of come off that level, because it's been choppy and crazy, and it's also 50 pips just to get into that high. What I'm more interested in is if the dollar CAD is going to pull back at all, and I honestly don't expect it to pull back a ton yet. Oil is getting hammered, the US dollar is still on a pretty decent move, and the dollar CAD is just, you know, kind of hanging in there in these upper levels. But I do see that my 4-hour indicator is so overextended that it's ridiculous, and we have a nice double top here. And we're going to have two opportunities to potentially short this. Definitely below 123.60.70 area, which is this little spot right here. But you can see it's 100 pips above that, 127.75. And so what I'm looking for is a break, getting out of this channel, getting out of this upper area. And so I'm looking for moves below about 127.30 on dollar CAD. And from there, I'm looking to trade this thing all the way down, at least into this general area here. I think we're going to have some nice opportunities to trade that down into about 126.50 or so. So it's not a huge move, but I think there's some decent pips to be had there. You know, probably probably a couple hundred pips actually, if we get down into that low. So it's looking like a nice little potential trade. Again, the 4-hour chart is incredibly overextended. Our 4-hour 200 moving average is down here around just below 12500. So again, we should be able to get 200 or 300 pips fairly easily below 127.30. Potentially all the way down to 12400, kind of in that general vicinity. So let's be watching dollar CAD. Let's be looking and ready to get short and look for a break of that. Now on the flip side, and Onur, I was definitely getting to that for sure. If we do get breaks of these highs, because this is a very nice double top, and I am getting nervous about trading with the trend too terribly much because of how overextended we are with my indicator here. But if we do break that high, then yes, absolutely, we have a move up into, first of all, we get into our highs here, which are 130, which back in 2008. And really, remember, the dollar CAD has a lot more room to go. It's just right in the middle. It's right in the middle. I mean, we're 3,700 pips off the low and 3,400 pips off the high. We're right smack dab in the middle of this big movement. So dollar CAD could continue much more, and chances are it will continue a bit higher before it really starts to make that move down, because again, oil prices are low and they're just getting beat up more, and the Canadian economy, they've just lowered interest rates, and that's definitely bearish for the currency. I'm looking for recovery. I'm definitely not looking for a massive new trend. I want to see this thing recover, pull back a little bit, and then continue definitely into that into that 130 and beyond area. So, but yes, definitely breaking the high. And getting above, you know, this current high of about 128.25 area is just going to fuel this thing even more. And likewise, I'd like to buy some dips. If this thing makes a move down, I'd love to buy some dips wherever we get that price pattern down in this kind of mid 120s area, 124, 125. If we get that price pattern that tells us to buy, that would be super awesome. So we can buy above the high or we can buy the dip. But before that dip happens, we can sell that break at about 127.30. So it's going to be a nice little setup. But again, U.S. is not lowering rates. Canada did lower rates. You know, the overall trend should continue to the upside for sure. Speaking of Canadian pairs, we have the EUROCAD, which is looking interesting. I think Manuel brought this up in the chat, and I've been keeping an eye on it just a little bit lately. I'm not a huge EUROCAD trader. In fact, I don't like to trade the pair that much at all, but it has made a pretty nice little run. The big dilemma I would have with the EUROCAD right now is both Euro and Canadian currencies are a little bit on the weak side, but you've seen that the Euro has been much weaker. It's been very weak against everything, and so we might start to see a little recovery, especially if we see any extra Canadian weakness with oil prices just continuing to decline. We might see some nice movements on this EUROCAD, and I'd be looking for a move above the 23% fib once again, which is around 136.50. It's up there 150 pips, but I think something like that could give us a good opportunity to start buying up into 13800 and beyond. But I don't know how much chop around in the mix I want to do. EUROCAD has plenty of room to continue down. You can see that it's made a nice little run, and it could continue to move lower. If it does, I'd be happy to sell the little break of this kind of double bottom zone here, which is around 133.80-ish area. So it's kind of right in the middle of anywhere that I would think about getting into it. So I'd like to get in at a move higher, or I'd like to get into it at a move lower. Anything in the middle I think is too risky for what I'd be looking for. Yeah, and in Euro New Zealand, hi Gloria, nice to see you. Yeah, we'll talk about getting a new indicator there for you. Euro New Zealand, we can have a look at that in just a moment. But yeah, EUROCAD needs to go about 100 plus pips in either direction before I want to start getting into that one. Okay, the only thing I'm going to say about the dollar Swiss franc is if the news hits and it goes kind of crazy and something wild and nutty happens, we have got a nice little move right here. This is 99.80, and we could get a move down towards that 200 moving average because we do have a pretty overextended setup here. So a move from 99.80 down could be very interesting and could be worth trading and looking for. I will absolutely not be doing anything during the news announcement, but anybody that's up and wants to look at that, look at the break of 99.80 for dollar Swiss franc and a move down into that 200 moving average, which is just around 96.50 or so. So it's it's a couple hundred pips. It's worth keeping an eye on. So it could be a nice little move there. However, likewise, if this makes a huge run up, I mean, look at that madness, and it's just spent the whole time coming right back on up. However, if we look at something like this happening, we might get some breaks of some highs here, so we'll keep an eye on that, because really this is a pretty strong move up with just some slowing and some consolidation and some of this business right here, and chances are that's just going to continue right back on up again. So be ready for that, but I'm not going to be trading it. Yes, and Scott, absolutely. Make sure you have lots of margin available for sure. Okay, guys, just real quick, it's getting late, so let me just cover this one real fast here. Aussie New Zealand, I am so gung-ho about getting long Aussie New Zealand, but we currently have a short position running on here, and it's looking pretty good. Aussie New Zealand is probably going to test those lows again, get below 10300. Let's make a few bucks on the way down. New Zealand is looking a little more bullish than Australia as far as currency goes, so I'm going to kind of lean towards some New Zealand strength for the moment and Australian weakness. And we have a nice price pattern to kind of confirm that. We've had this nice little move right here, which is the nice little bull flag, or excuse me, nice little bear flag, runs down, consolidates, retraces about 50%. If we just connect the dots there from the top of that flag on down, that puts the Aussie New Zealand down around 102.75.80 area once again, and I think we're probably going to get down to that. So anything below this little low right here, you can see there's a lot of congestion around 103.50 area. Below 103.50 we should have no problem making a move into 10300. So just be looking for that. 10300, there's an easy 50 to 75 pips from where it currently is on down. So just be ready for that. Okay, that's Aussie New Zealand. And then from there we're going to be looking once again down in the 10200s for opportunities to buy this pair once again, because I just don't know that I'm going to be the guy that's trying to really short this thing into all-time lows. I know currency pairs break lows, but I don't know if I'm going to be that guy, so I'm probably not going to. But for the moment, we're going to short it down into those lows for sure. So look for that little short-term break, 103.50. Okay, quickly on gold. The only thing I'm going to say on gold is it's ugly and choppy, but I still think we're going to see 1088, if not more, if not $1,000 and even below. I'm looking for gold to continue down, and I think it's going to continue down. At $1,000, though, I am definitely long gold, and at $1,050, I'm probably long gold. But I do think it's headed down a bit more on the setups we see and all the economic details. Quick little look at dollar peso. I like opportunities, depending on how the FOMC statement goes, of buying at 15.15. Nice little move down here of 100 and 200 pips or so, and then buy the dip and trade it right back on up again. If it breaks at 15.15, then we're probably going to be looking for opportunities for a big short if the US dollar starts to recover and correct. Not recover, but correct a lot. Then we could see a nice little move through that 15.15 and really take it down below. So dollar peso is interesting. Last but not least, New Zealand dollar, US dollar. Big double bottom right here. I do think this pair is headed lower, but it will probably bounce around a little bit before it gets there. It's getting into a lot of congestion and consolidation. The 200 moving average is down here at the 70 level, and it has bounced at about 71.50 or so, and has come off that low very, very nicely. So we're going to be looking at the New Zealand dollar this week and seeing if we can get some buy opportunities, buy the rally a little bit, and then kind of sell those breaks back down. So I'll be looking at that on the New Zealand dollar this week as well. It'll be an exciting week. There's lots of good news and lots of good things happening, and I'm very much excited about it. And I want to thank you guys for coming and attending. One thing that we're going to do tomorrow, it's going to be a bit of a small event. And I'm going to tell you guys about this. Well, I'll tell you right now. We're going to have a webinar where I'm going to talk about a new little trading tool and technique. And it's going to be tomorrow. And it's going to be at this link right here. Tomorrow at, I forgot what time it is, but if you click on the link, it'll tell you. And I'm only going to invite a few people. Everybody that's in this webinar can attend, but we're going to talk about a trading tool and a trading technique, and there will be a lot of details about that. So if you'd like to find out about a new progressive and aggressive way of hedging, do attend our webinar tomorrow at, I think, 7 p.m. is probably when I have it set. Is that what I have it for? 6 p.m. Just kidding. 6 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow night. So it'll be a fun, exciting time to talk about a couple of things. I look forward to having you guys there, and you can click on that link to register. Again, it's going to be a small event, but we'll look for a mass release a little bit down the road, but it's going to be kind of a group thing for the moment. So come on and join us. We'd love to have you. Dave, yes, if dollar is dovish, gold would start to rise, but I guess we'll find out that on Wednesday a little bit more.